Hello, and welcome to F1 Into the Barrier with me, George Close, reviewing the Qatar Grand Prix. And my God, Marshals, do we have a lot to talk about? A lot. I had to watch the race late because I was watching it with my dearest former co-host Benjamin Harker. And, the stress that McLaren put us through. The stress of being a McLaren fan. Because it's the optimism. At least with Ferrari, you can just be down and out and miserable. But McLaren, oh my God. Death, taxes, and Max Verstappen in the 2020s, it doesn't falter. So we have a final race showdown where 3 drivers can win. It is definitely advantage Lando Norris, but this could have been a slam dunk by now had they not had the disqualification last week, and if they had pitted on lap 7 for a free pit stop in this race. Oscar Piastri, taking a step back, had been supreme all weekend. Clearly a track he prefers. People talking about the track suiting his driving style and the tyre warm-up. I just think he was really quick. Maybe a slightly overanalyzing all of this and putting it down to these minutiae driving style things. Lando Norris has been amazing recently, and Oscar Piastri hasn't been. He's just stepped up his performance back to where I think it is. And Oscar managed to perform in the sprint race, which was incredibly dull. He nailed it. He nailed qualifying. He held himself together. I mean, he did have that little moment in qualifying, but he stuck it. Max, as always this year, his best qualifying year, was supremely quick as well. But you always felt starting from the right side of the track would be a huge advantage. And Max managed to get past Lando right at the beginning. And then we have the disaster. Think back to Baku 2021 when Lewis was the only person not to pit. Well, we had something very similar where only McLaren didn't pit. Now, listen, when you're out in front, you obviously don't know what your rivals are going to do because you're first. But what was surprising, why every other team pitted, is because Pirelli had mandated a 25-lap limit. And so if the crash is on lap 7 and you have a 57-lap race, you can do a perfect 2 stops and get a free pit stop. This was entirely a free pit stop. The only thing you're losing out is track position. But if everyone pits, there's no track position to lose. Maybe they're a little bit caught out. They definitely were never going to split strategy because they don't want to be seen as being unfair to a driver. I don't have a problem with that. Papaya rules are not the reason why this championship is not going their way. Although, listen, I think they still are most likely to win. It's not to say that Max hasn't got a very good chance of winning. I think they're most likely to win, particularly Lando Norris. But it was just a bad strategy call. Papaya rules are really about them fighting. I think this, wanting to be fair, is giving us great entertainment. It's going down to the final race. They secured the Constructors' Championship ages ago. McLaren have been the best team this year. All Max's talk about he'd have won the championship ages ago, not true, because he'd have had either Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri and his teammate, and they are unbelievably better than Yuki Tsunoda or anyone of recent history who's been Max Verstappen's teammates. So it's frustrating as a McLaren fan for it to go to the final race, but ultimately, what a race, what a spectacle. How many people are going to watch it live? It's great for the sport when it goes down to the wire. 2 teammates battling out, you have that added dynamic. Will McLaren tell Oscar if the conditions are right to give a place up to Norris? Potentially, but would he conceivably ever do that until right at the end? No. Would he cross the line anyway? What if he's winning? A race win is so hard to come by. Does he deserve to give up a race win for Lando Norris? We will see. We will see how it plays out. I'm sure they'll be being hammered with questions. I know they didn't want to do much media talking, but they're going to be hammered as soon as they're in front of cameras. Huge for the championship. I just can't believe that Max Verstappen has, well, I can believe because we've been talking about it for weeks, but 10 points behind. 10 points behind. Absolutely incredible. What is interesting is that Red Bull doubted themselves when they had McLaren was staying out, and Hannah Schmitz, who's the strategist at Red Bull, was asked to really confirm that they were coming into pit, but she doubled down, made the right decision, along with everyone else, we should add. It wasn't a uniquely Red Bull decision to pit. Everyone else pitted, and that's where the damage happened. If other people hadn't pitted, it wouldn't have been so bad for McLaren, because then there would have been a buffer of cars. They'd not had a completely free pit stop. They'd have had to make their way through traffic. Anyway, it is how it is. Max Verstappen, Super Max, definitely his best season. He's so calm and collected and has nothing to lose. I think you will see definitely the most boisterous Max Verstappen possible to win his 5th World Championship. 5th. Incredible. 70th win as well for Max. Remarkable. In other news, Hadja is in and Yuki Tsunoda is out. And it's a shame for Yuki because he out-qualified his teammate for the first time, but in a pretty decent lap. So a shame. It looks like Honda are going to be doing a deal, but there isn't going to be room at the Red Bull Inn for Yuki Tsunoda. And a note, GP, when he called out Antonelli for waving past Lando, he did apologise. He spoke with Toto Wolff. He should know better. It made me so angry. He said he didn't see it. If you didn't see it, then why are you commenting on it? He's seen data and seen that Lando's made his way past. Why has he assumed that it's been waved past when Mercedes are fighting for P2 in the constructors? There's a podium on the line. This crazy engine theory is ridiculous. Honestly, I thought it was pathetic. And even more pathetic is Helmut Marko, who did see it and still decided to come out and slam Antonelli. And there's been all these crazy death threats online against him. It's utter nonsense. These people aren't F1 fans. They're just insane. I can't believe you can be so utterly blind and dumb to genuinely think that was being let pass. And Helmut Marko, bless him, getting jittery in his old age, but he's a tool. It wasn't just Horner that was toxic. What a helmet. Helmut the helmet. And particularly, I'm bitting hard on this, but they have literally a junior racing team. When was the last time you saw a Racing Bulls fight a Red Bull? Other than Liam Lawson trying to give it large to whoever was the second driver. It is ridiculous. The hypocrisy by that man. Anyway, we come nicely on to Antonelli, who, again, had a pretty decent race. George went backwards at the beginning, but over the course of the weekend, it looked like George had just managed to wrestle back on top of Antonelli. But at this late season, in terms of development, listen, F1's not a finishing school, classic Mark Webber quote, but he has had this first rookie season to embed himself, get very comfortable. I thought what Gary Neville said was very interesting, where they worked through a checklist after the races and analysed their performances and talk about the maturity of Antonelli to be able to do that as a 19-year-old, and he wouldn't have been able to do that in football. It's a real characteristic of a lot of F1 drivers. So much of it is about racecraft and racing ability, but it's how you can fit into a team, how you can self-analyse. Thinking of Dan Ticktum in F2, that very famously is never going to make it to Formula 1 with a terrible, terrible attitude. You have to fit in at these teams, or you need an incredible amount of money backing you, or a dad that's a billionaire. But even with those parameters, you still got to be able to work as a team. And yeah, I think Antonelli has picked himself up so that this year isn't the medium performance that it was really looking like. Finishing on a positive note is a great way to change everyone's recent memory. You only feel as good as your last race, and he's having good races at the moment, and Mercedes are going to come out probably P2 in the championship, which is huge for them. Huge. And they can go into next year, and let's see what car they can create. And the other team I'm very excited to see what they can create is Williams, because Carlos Sainz has now got his second podium of the year. He is really clicking at Williams. Really, really clicking. They have two excellent drivers, Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. An incredible result. And they have been spending, under James Vowles, time implementing processes and procedures to create a great car next year. And there's an opportunity. They know where the opportunity is. And if you create this environment for excellence, you're likely to be able to produce excellence. And this contrasts with the other end of the scale, which is Ferrari. Because very clearly, Fred has had sufficient time now to be overhauling and implementing change. But is he battling against the arrogant beast that is Ferrari? Can he change it? Lewis and Charles have got very close recently, teaming together. Lewis effectively has a list of requirements, demands, and processes that he thinks if Ferrari can implement, and he says there's no reason why they couldn't, they might be able to have a springboard for success. But we genuinely have to say it looks unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely, the Ferrari are going to be starting next year on the front foot when they finish this year so poorly. Interestingly, they blamed some of their lack of performance on the ballooned tyres. Pirelli mandated some specific tyre pressures, and Ferrari said they couldn't get that to work for their car. Also, it's a sprint weekend. You are very limited on setup time, and if you start far away from the goal, you're dead because it's so hard through Part FAMO regulations to really hone in the car to the sweet spot, and Ferrari just said they simply couldn't get there. Performance-wise, Charles Leclerc is clearly an amazing performer. If he is qualifying down 10th, 9th, something's really wrong. Lewis down in 18th. There's not problems with the drivers. I think Lewis definitely is having his worst year in Formula 1. He doesn't like these ground effect cars. It's very difficult to see. He seems very demotivated, and it reminds me a bit of when Seb went there. Ferrari have not won in years, and there is an arrogance with Ferrari. There clearly are problems. There's been strategy problems. There's development problems. I'm not sure I have the confidence that either of them are going to get a championship car next year if it stays like this. So what do we need? We need Fred to step it up. He's under a bit of pressure. Will they change the team principle? I still don't think they will. I think there's still enough confidence in Fred, but I truthfully don't know. I'm not inside that factory. Are there enough good noises coming out of it? No. With performances like this, is your job on the line? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think they potentially could pull the plug with another really disappointing ending to the season and wanting to change something so that going into next year, if they do think they're going to bring someone in, they have the run-up of pre-season. But we will see. All going wrong at Ferrari. All going wrong at Ferrari. Which brings us to somewhere where it looked like it was going quite right, which was Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso had an incredible qualifying. Pretty good weekend overall. He had that very uncharacteristic spin that cost him a few places in the race. But at the moment, we're seeing Saubers, we're seeing Williams, we're seeing Aston Martins creeping in and taking up the rest of the championship point winning positions. So Aston Martin, the key news is Adrian Newey to be akin to a team principal. We were talking about maybe Christian Horner going there, but it seems that as a shareholder, clearly he's put his Adrian Newey and said, well, you know what? I am one of the most successful people ever in Formula One. I could probably do the bigger job. So that's going to be very interesting going into next year. And I'm going to put a very long-term prediction out there now, very long-term. If things do sour at Ferrari for Lewis Hamilton and Alonso isn't around in Formula One much longer, potentially you'll finally see an Adrian Newey-Lewis Hamilton partnership at Aston Martin. If that were to happen. Big if. This is just wild speculation now. Wild. So we're going to finish, though, Marshals, with a look at the permutations. The permutations to win. And why Lando Norris is still quite likely. Because if Lando Norris finishes first, second or third, he wins regardless. If he finishes fourth, to win, Max Verstappen must finish second or lower. If he finishes fifth, then Verstappen must finish second or lower. And Piastri doesn't come into any of that. So as long as Lando Norris finishes fifth, it does not matter what Oscar Piastri does. Max Verstappen has to finish second. I suspect Piastri will be lightning quick, though. Lightning quick next weekend. Why? Because to win, he effectively has to win. He needs to win, then Max Verstappen doesn't matter, and Norris would have to finish fourth or lower. So Piastri's got to win, if we're being blunt. Piastri's got to win, bar some crazy chaos or Lando Norris crashing out or some problem or contact. Realistically, Piastri needs to win. And Max Verstappen does as a chance. If Max Verstappen wins, he needs Lando to be fourth or lower. If he comes second, he needs Lando to be eighth or lower. And if he finishes third, he would need Lando to be ninth or lower. And there's some Piastri permutations in there. It's very close. It still is advantage Lando. And the key to him winning is a clean race. The spanner is Mercedes. Because if you saw at the end, Antonelli's car was quick in a straight line. The only reason that Lando managed to get past, even though it was on fresher tyres, is because Antonelli went wide. If the Mercedes can stay that quick in a straight line and they manage to worm themselves in the way, it is actually going to be difficult for any of the drivers, particularly the McLarens, it seems, without the overspeed, to work their way past. Get it into third, at least. Avoid contact, don't make mistakes. Max Verstappen will be looking for near contact. He's got nothing to lose, and I don't think he seems to care about this championship. He just wants to win 5 because it sounds nice. Piastri and Oscar, I think, will be respectful. I don't think we will see too many problems there. Qualifying's going to be king there. Qualifying's going to be king because it will earn you the pit stop right. Whether or not you want it with McLaren strategy is another thing, but that is where probably the championship will be won for the McLaren drivers. Who finishes top in qualifying? And let's see what the Red Bull of Max Verstappen can do. And let's see how Mercedes might be the spanner in the works. Marshals, one more race. 3 drivers can win. Enjoy it because Formula One isn't this exciting that often. We all owe McLaren our thanks, even if it is so very difficult to see. I will catch you next time. Goodbye.